Hayden Panettiere, the beloved actress best known for Heroes, Nashville, and the Scream franchise, has died at just 36 years old. The devastating news was confirmed on August 16, 2026, with her representative confirming her passing and her father, Alan "Skip" Panettiere, releasing an emotional statement about the loss. Hayden was only days away from her 37th birthday, which would have been August 21. Her sudden death has left fans shocked, especially because she had been publicly rebuilding her life and opening up about her experiences in a memoir released earlier this year. Hayden's father described her as an incredible light and a force of nature who brought immeasurable love and joy to everyone who knew her and to the millions who watched her on screen. The family has asked for privacy as they deal with what is being described as an unimaginable loss. At this time, however, one major question remains unanswered. Hayden's official cause of death has not been publicly disclosed. Reports say law enforcement responded to an incident involving the actress, and an investigation is ongoing, but authorities have not announced a definitive explanation for what happened. The timing makes the news even more heartbreaking. Hayden had recently been stepping back into the spotlight after years of personal struggles, and she had been sharing much more of her story publicly. Her memoir, This Is Me, A Reckoning, was released in May 2026 and became one of the most revealing chapters of her career. In the book, she discussed growing up famous, motherhood, addiction, depression, difficult relationships, and the enormous pressure she experienced as a young actress in Hollywood. She had spent years being defined by headlines, and in 2026, she was finally taking control of the narrative and telling her story in her own words. Just weeks before her death, Hayden appeared happy and relaxed in what would become her final Instagram post. On July 27th, she shared a photo with longtime friend and photographer Randall Slavin, writing "Good times and good friends." At the time, it looked like an ordinary snapshot from a normal day. After her death was announced, however, fans immediately returned to that photograph, and the seemingly simple message suddenly carried an entirely different emotional weight. People began flooding social media with memories of Hayden and revisiting the performances that made her famous. For an entire generation, Hayden Panettiere was Claire Bennet from Heroes. When the NBC series premiered in 2006, Hayden was only 17 years old, and her character quickly became one of the show's most recognizable figures. Claire was a high school cheerleader with an extraordinary ability to heal from devastating injuries, and Hayden's performance helped turn the character into a television icon. The series became a global phenomenon, and Hayden went from being a talented young actress to one of the most recognizable faces of her generation almost overnight. But Hayden's career had begun long before Heroes. She entered the entertainment industry as a child and appeared in commercials when she was still a baby. She later worked on television soaps, including One Life to Live and Guiding Light, while also building a film career. Audiences saw her in Remember the Titans, Ice Princess, Raising Helen, and other projects. She even voiced Dot in A Bug's Life, and her early work showed that she was already an experienced performer long before she became a household name. After Heroes, Hayden took on another career-defining role as Juliette Barnes on Nashville. The character was a young country music superstar whose glamorous career was complicated by addiction, relationships, fame, and emotional turmoil. Hayden did not just portray the character as an actress, she also performed the music, showcasing a singing talent that surprised many viewers. Her work on Nashville earned her 2 Golden Globe nominations for Best Supporting Actress, and several songs connected to her character appeared on country music charts. Looking back at Nashville now makes Hayden's story even more complicated, because some of the themes surrounding Juliette Barnes would later echo Hayden's own real-life struggles. Behind the scenes, she was dealing with serious personal challenges, including postpartum depression after the birth of her daughter, Kaya, in 2014. Hayden later spoke openly about addiction, alcohol dependency, treatment, and the emotional difficulties she experienced during that period. She made it clear that those years were some of the darkest of her life, but she also wanted people to understand that recovery was possible. Hayden's daughter Kaya was born during her relationship with former heavyweight boxing champion Vladimir Klitschko. As Hayden struggled with her health and addiction, she ultimately made the painful decision to relinquish full custody of Kaya to Klitschko in 2018. She later explained that the decision was heartbreaking, but that she believed it was necessary while she focused on getting better. Hayden continued to speak lovingly about her daughter, and despite the complicated circumstances, Kaya remained one of the most important people in her life. In recent years, Hayden had become increasingly open about those experiences. She discussed the reality of postpartum depression and how difficult it was for her to connect emotionally with her daughter at first. In her memoir, she described feeling emotionally numb during that period and explained how addiction became intertwined with her attempt to cope. Rather than hiding those experiences, she chose to put them on paper. Her decision to be honest was important because it showed a side of celebrity life that is rarely visible behind red carpets, interviews, and glamorous photographs. Her memoir also came at a time when Hayden was reflecting on painful relationships and difficult experiences from her younger years. She revisited parts of her Hollywood journey that she had rarely discussed publicly and talked about the complicated reality of becoming famous while still a child. She had spent decades in an industry that expected her to perform, mature, and maintain an image while millions of people watched her. In 2026, she appeared determined to explain what that experience had actually been like for her. Hayden's personal life had already been devastated by devastating tragedy before her own death. Her younger brother, actor Hayden Panettiere, died in February 2023 at only 28 years old from heart complications. Hayden was deeply affected by his death and spoke about the enormous grief that followed. Losing her younger brother was another devastating chapter in a life that had already included addiction, mental health struggles, relationship difficulties, and the pressures of growing up in the public eye. Professionally, Hayden continued working despite those challenges. She returned to the Scream franchise as Kirby Reed, a character that fans had been waiting years to see again. Her appearance in Scream 6 gave longtime viewers a major nostalgic moment and proved that Hayden could still command attention on screen. She also became recognizable to gamers through Until Dawn, where she played Samantha Giddings, expanding her fanbase beyond traditional television and film audiences. Her final years were not simply a story of struggle, they were also a story of rebuilding. Hayden continued appearing publicly, continued working, and continued talking honestly about her experiences. Her 2026 memoir became particularly significant because it reached a new audience that may have known her only from Heroes or Nashville. Instead of allowing the public to remember only the controversies and difficult headlines, she was giving people a fuller picture of who she was. That is why the sudden announcement of her death has hit so hard. Hayden was not someone who had disappeared completely from public life. She had been promoting her memoir, reconnecting with audiences, and discussing the lessons she had learned. She was still only 36, and she was still trying to build the next chapter of her life. Her death, therefore, feels not only tragic, but painfully premature. Fans have responded by revisiting her most memorable roles and performances. Social media has filled with tributes to Claire Bennet, Juliette Barnes, Kirby Reed, and the many other characters Hayden brought to life. People who grew up watching Heroes are remembering the young actress who seemed almost unstoppable. Nashville fans are remembering her voice and emotional performances. Scream fans are remembering Kirby's return, and others are simply remembering the child actress they watched grow into a major Hollywood star. There is also a growing focus on Hayden's final public appearances, and the fact that she seemed to be entering a new phase of her life. Her final Instagram post showed her spending time with a friend and celebrating what appeared to be an ordinary moment of happiness. Her memoir had also reached a significant milestone, giving her an opportunity to speak openly about experiences she had carried for years. Those details make her passing feel even more difficult to comprehend. Still, it is important to separate confirmed information from online speculation. Hayden Panettiere's death has been confirmed by her representative and her family, but the official cause of death has not been announced. Reports about an incident involving law enforcement are part of the developing story, but they do not establish why she died. Until authorities or her family provide additional information, any claims about a specific cause should be treated as unconfirmed. What we do know is that Hayden Panettiere leaves behind a remarkable career that began when she was barely old enough to understand what fame meant. She worked for more than 30 decades, moving from commercials and childhood television roles to blockbuster movies, hit television series, music performances, video games, and ultimately a deeply personal memoir. Few performers manage to leave such a recognizable mark across so many different forms of entertainment before reaching 40. Her story was also much bigger than Hollywood. Hayden spoke openly about mental health, addiction, motherhood, recovery, and grief at a time when many celebrities still avoided those subjects. Her willingness to discuss painful experiences helped people who were facing similar struggles feel less alone. She repeatedly emphasized the importance of honesty and getting help, and that message may become one of the most meaningful parts of her legacy. Hayden Panettiere was a daughter, a sister, a mother, a friend, and an actress who spent most of her life in front of the public. She experienced extraordinary success at a very young age, but she also experienced extraordinary personal pain. Through it all, she kept trying to find her way forward. Her final chapter was still being written when her life was suddenly cut short. For the millions of people who watched her on screen, Hayden will always be remembered as more than a tragic headline. She was the fearless cheerleader from Heroes, the complicated country star from Nashville, the returning scream heroine, and the performer who continued to fight for her own voice even after some incredibly difficult years. Her life was complicated, imperfect, and deeply human, and perhaps that is exactly why so many people connected with her. Hayden Panettiere was only 36 years old, just days away from her 37th birthday. Her family is now grieving privately, while fans around the world are remembering the work and memories she leaves behind. As more official information becomes available, the circumstances surrounding her death may become clearer, but for now, the focus remains on remembering the person and the career behind the heartbreaking headline. Hayden Panettiere's life may have ended far too soon, but the characters she created, the music she performed, and her personal story she courageously shared will continue to reach audiences. She spent her final months telling the world who she really was, and that honesty may ultimately become one of the most lasting parts of her legacy. Rest in peace, Hayden Panettiere. Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more celebrity updates just like this.